You have never been hungry in your life. You know what hunger feels like. That hollow pull in your gut. The distraction that creeps in around noon. The craving that shows up at 10 p.m. even though you ate 3 hours ago. You felt it 1,000 times. You trust it. You treat it like a message and like your body is being honest with you, telling you what it needs. But here's what's actually happening inside you right now. Your stomach is not talking to your brain. Chemicals are. Specifically, ghrelin, leptin, neuropeptide Y, and a cascade of at least a dozen other compounds that flood specific regions of your brain. The hypothalamus, the nucleus accumbens, the prefrontal cortex, and manufacture the sensation of hunger from scratch as a constructed experience, not a direct readout of your caloric state. And here's the part that changes everything. Ghrelin, the primary hormone that makes you feel hungry, rises before meals on a clock. A conditioned clock. Pavlovian. Pure. If you eat lunch at noon every day for 6 months, your ghrelin will spike at 11:45, regardless of whether your body needs energy. It's not responding to a caloric deficit. It's responding to a time, to a habit, to a trigger that has nothing to do with biological necessity. Your hunger is not a report. It's a performance, and the question is, who wrote the script? Before we go further, let's look at what this system actually is, because stripped of what it does to you, it is extraordinary. The hunger regulation network is one of the most elegant feedback systems in human biology. Picture it like a conversation happening in real time between your gut, your fat cells, your bloodstream, and your brain. Thousands of chemical signals per hour, moving at speeds that no human technology can replicate at this scale, calibrating energy intake against energy expenditure across a body of 37 trillion cells. Your fat tissue, the tissue most people think of as inert, passive, embarrassing, is actually an endocrine organ. It secretes leptin continuously into your bloodstream, and leptin travels to your hypothalamus and says, in chemical language, we have reserves. You can stop. Meanwhile, your intestinal lining secretes GLP-1 and PYY after food arrives, reinforcing the brake signal. And your pancreas releases insulin, which crosses the blood-brain barrier and also speaks directly to your hunger centers. The system has redundancy. It has feedback loops within feedback loops. It took 400 million years of vertebrate evolution to build it. It is perfect. It is elegant. And it is exactly why what happens next should terrify you. Ghrelin spikes. You feel hungry. You eat. Leptin rises. You feel full. You stop. That's the story. That's what the textbook says. That's what every diet culture influencer and every wellness guru assumes is happening inside you when they tell you to listen to your body. But here's what's actually happening in millions of people right now. While they sit with a meal in front of them, feeling the pull to keep eating, even though they know, intellectually, that they've had enough. The leptin signal is being sent. The fat cells are producing it normally. The levels in the bloodstream are measurable, real, sometimes even elevated. But the hypothalamus has stopped listening. This is leptin resistance, and it is not a flaw of character. It is a mechanical failure. A receptor failure. The signal is there. The message is being transmitted. But the lock no longer fits the key. The brake line is intact all the way to the wheel. And the wheel doesn't respond. Researchers at the University of Wisconsin found that in states of chronic obesity, hypothalamic neurons that should respond to leptin show significantly blunted electrical activity. They're not broken. They're functionally deaf. The person is not overeating because they lack willpower. They are overeating because the system that was supposed to stop them stopped working. They are hungry in a room full of food because hunger is not about food. It's about chemistry, and their chemistry is lying. Imagine screaming into a room where the walls absorb all sound. Your mouth moves, the signal leaves, nobody hears it. That's what satiety feels like when leptin resistance takes hold. And that's just the first way the system can fail you, because the second way, someone built deliberately. In the 1970s, a food industry consultant named Howard Moskowitz was hired by a major beverage company to find the perfect level of sweetness for a new soft drink. His discovery changed the food landscape permanently, and not in the way the company expected. Moskowitz found that there was no single perfect sweetness level. Instead, there was a point beyond which sweetness became cloying, off-putting, rejected. But there was also a zone, a range, where desire didn't peak and then fall. It just stayed elevated, flat, open-ended. He called it the bliss point, not a peak, a plateau with no natural exit. The food industry spent the following decades engineering products to hit that plateau. But the real manipulation runs deeper than taste. Ultra-processed foods, engineered combinations of refined salt, saturated fat, and rapidly absorbed sugar in concentrations that have never existed in any food that evolved alongside human biology, trigger a dopaminergic reward response in the nucleus accumbens that is disproportionate to the leptin response they generate. Translation: they make your brain feel rewarded without making your body feel full. Your appetite system evolved for an environment where caloric density correlated with satiety signals. Eat enough fat, protein, fiber, specific hormones activate, stretch receptors in the stomach fire, the brain registers completion. The system worked because reality was consistent. Ultra-processed food broke the correlation. It delivers reward without the biological handshake that evolution built to follow it. The brain gets the dopamine hit. The satiety cascade either doesn't come, or comes too late, or comes too weakly. And because the nucleus accumbens interprets that mismatch as incompletion, as a loop not yet closed, it drives continued consumption. You're not eating because you're still hungry. You're eating because the reward circuit hasn't gotten the signal it was expecting. It's waiting for a resolution that was engineered never to come. The food that tastes like it should satisfy you was designed, specifically and deliberately, to make sure that it doesn't. But now we go somewhere that mainstream nutritional science spent decades dismissing, and is now, quietly, beginning to accept. Your gut contains approximately 39 trillion microbial cells. Bacteria, archaea, fungi, viruses, an ecosystem of complexity that rivals the organ systems of your body in its sophistication. And this ecosystem doesn't just sit there digesting, it communicates. Specific bacterial species in your gut, Prevotella, certain lactobacillus strains, several species of firmicutes, produce neuroactive compounds, short-chain fatty acids, GABA precursors, serotonin precursors, and molecules that, when the gut barrier is permeable enough, cross into the bloodstream and from there, cross the blood-brain barrier itself. A 2021 study published in Nature Metabolism demonstrated that gut microbial composition was predictive of food cravings independent of dietary history. Not correlated. Predictive. Here is what that means. The population of organisms living in your intestine right now, shaped by what you have been eating, what antibiotics you have taken, what environment you grew up in, may be generating the specific cravings you experience as your own desires. If your gut ecosystem has been colonized by sugar-metabolizing bacteria, those bacteria produce compounds that upregulate your dopamine response to sugar, making it more rewarding than it would otherwise be, while simultaneously signaling the hypothalamus in ways that lower the threshold for sugar craving. You want sugar. You believe you want sugar. But the organisms that live on sugar want sugar. And they have a direct line to your brain that bypasses your conscious awareness entirely. The question that researchers are now asking, carefully because the implications are significant, is this. To what extent is food preference a personal identity? And to what extent is it a microbial colony defending its food supply using the most sophisticated tool available to it? We don't fully know yet. In 1994, A geneticist named Jeffrey Friedman at Rockefeller University isolated a gene in mice that, when mutated, caused them to eat relentlessly and grow to 3 times their normal weight. The gene produced a protein. He called it leptin, from the Greek leptos, meaning thin. When Friedman's team injected leptin into genetically leptin-deficient mice, the results were immediate and complete. Animals that had spent their entire lives unable to stop eating simply stopped. Not reluctantly, completely. The drive was gone because the signal had been restored. The discovery was reported as a potential cure for obesity. Headlines ran worldwide. The mechanism was clear, the molecule was real, and suddenly, the decades of moral judgment directed at people with obesity, the assumption of laziness, of weakness, of choice, had a biological refutation with a name and a molecular weight. But then something strange happened. Researchers tested leptin levels in people with obesity and found that most of them had high levels, not low levels. High. The problem wasn't a missing signal. The problem was a system that had stopped hearing it. Jeffrey Friedman spent years after his discovery watching the world misapply it, expecting leptin injections to work in resistant patients, expecting a hormone to fix what was actually a receptor problem, a brain adaptation problem, a systems failure at a level that leptin alone couldn't reach. He described it later in an interview as a humbling experience. Not because the science was wrong, because the science was right, and the complexity beneath it was deeper than anyone had prepared for. Because of what Friedman found, we now know that hunger is not a deficit, it's a signal. And signals can break. And when they break, it is not a failure of character. It is a failure of chemistry. And because of that, we know something about you. You have never made a free food choice. Not once. Every craving you have ever felt was the output of a system, hormonal, microbial, neurological, conditioned, that assembled itself over decades from genetics you didn't choose, environments you didn't design, and products engineered specifically to exploit the gaps in your biology's defenses. What you call hunger is a vote. But it's a vote held in a room where the ballot has already been filled out, and your job was always only to ratify it. And here is where it becomes something larger than food. You are an organism that builds a sense of self, preferences, desires, identities, the story of who you are. From signals that originate outside your awareness, from cells that have no mind, from bacteria that have no agenda beyond replication, from industry algorithms designed not for your thriving, but for your return. And from all of that noise, you construct something you call me. You have 39 trillion microbes in your gut, none of which have ever had a thought. You have hormones flooding a hypothalamus that has never once been asked for its opinion. You have dopamine circuits shaped by evolutionary pressures that ended 10,000 years ago, now running on an environment they were never built for. And from the collision of all of that, you emerged. Something that feels hunger. That makes choices. That wonders right now how much of what it feels is actually its own. You are the universe's most complex machine asking itself whether it's a machine, and you still don't know what you actually want for dinner. Your hunger is manufactured by chemistry, but there is a system in your body that manufactures something far more fundamental, the very ecosystem that controls your hunger, your mood, and according to new science, your personality itself. It lives in your gut. It outnumbers your human cells. It has been shaping your decisions since the day you were born, and most of it you inherited from someone else. That is the next video. If you made it here, you already know that dark anatomy doesn't let you leave with the same certainties you walked in with. Subscribe, because what comes next isn't about what you eat. It's about what's been eating you. Keep looking inward.